What's going on, y'all? I'm Eddie Knight. Welcome back to Nerdy Before It Was Cool. So there's been a lot of conflicting news about Tom Holland and Spider-Man in the news lately, man. He's been in interviews saying that he doesn't want to do this role past the age of 30. If you didn't know, he is 25 years old. That's only 5 more years, meaning it takes about 2 years to shoot these movies. So he wants to do 2 more movies and be done. When addressed in an interview with Variety, asked him about the rumored 3-movie arc that he has coming out with Spider-Man in the future. He didn't confirm or deny it, but he's basically says there's a lot to look forward to and he's very excited to continue the role. So it's hard to really tell where his head's at. It's very clear that Sony and Marvel want him to continue his run as Spider-Man, and they want to get as many movies out of him as they possibly can because, I mean, the dude looks so young. He can really continue this role for a very long time. Now, as a creator myself, I can understand why he wouldn't want to be stuck in a role for years and years and years and years. I can understand the idea of wanting to not limit yourself and not box yourself in and not be typecast. I get that. But what I don't think that he's seeing is he has the ability and the opportunity to do something with Spider-Man that we haven't seen done in live action yet, which is grow up with Spider-Man. Even though Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire clearly didn't look like high school kids, they were both high school kids. Peter is a high school kid. We have the opportunity to see Peter grow up from high school to college and on past college. He could really bring an angle to the role that we haven't seen before, and that could open up the door for him to not be compared to Tobey and not be compared to Andrew and really carve out his own lane as Spider-Man, which I think he has done. There's a lot of people who Tom Holland is their favorite Spider-Man, but in most people's eyes, I think he is in the shadow of the other two. And I love Tom Holland, man. He's an amazing actor, but he's attempted some other movies outside of the MCU. He has the Uncharted movies coming out, which is a video game-based movie, and we know how those video game-based movies go usually, man. They're really hard to make into a theatrical release. I have high hopes for it, but man, you never know. With the Chaos Walking movie, it was pushed back so many times, was deemed unreleasable by the directors and producers who made the movie. So he doesn't have a great track record outside of the MCU just yet. I want him to build that, but he keeps going for these characters that require you to stick out through a movie contract and to do multiple series and multiple movies and do sequels and stuff like that. He's also been very vocal about wanting to play James Bond, which is another character where you have to commit years and years and years to that role. They don't just do one and dones or 2 or 3 and dones with those James Bond movies. They're going to want you to do 5, 6, maybe even 7 of those bad boys. Anyways, man, before we finish the video, let me know in the comments, do you think Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to pop up in Spider-Man No Way Home? Let me know down in the comments before we finish the video. I think yes, but who knows? Tom Holland is clearly passionate about playing Spider-Man, but is that enough to keep him around long term? When you look at Chris Evans, when you look at Scarlett Johansson, when you look at Robert Downey Jr. and the other people who have been in the MCU in the previous phases, they were in it for 10, 12 plus years. One key difference between them and between Tom Holland is they already had established careers before they joined the MCU. I am not too familiar with Tom Holland's full catalog of movies, but I know outside of the MCU, he hasn't accomplished as much as a Robert Downey Jr. or a Chris Evans or even a Scarlett Johansson in that regard. So I could understand him wanting to build a legacy outside of that. But as for MCUers going on to do things post-MCU, there is not a great track record, man. I love RDJ, but that Doolittle movie after the MCU was garbage. He was great. He was charismatic. His accent wasn't even that bad, but the movie was terrible. Chris Hemsworth going to do his action films with Netflix, Extraction or whatever. It seemed okay, but I've never seen it, and it's got a lot of mixed reviews, and Netflix never really tells their numbers on these things, so it's hard to know the actual numbers and what this movie did, but it looked just like a basic action flick. I hear the Finding Jacob or whatever show that is that Chris Evans has on Apple TV, I hear that's really good. So it's been a really mixed bag for people leaving the MCU and then going on to do other things afterwards. So I can understand him wanting to get out early so he's not just typecast and not just stuck in that role for longer than he wants to be, man. But anyways, what do you guys think, man? Do you think that Tom Holland should continue his run as Spider-Man past the 3 rumored movies that he has coming out later in the future? Do you think he should try to build his own universe, his Spider-Man and Sony? Or do you think after this next few movies and cameos that he should just hang it up and let the next guy come in and take a shot at Spider-Man? I think he should continue it, but let me know what you think down in the comments, man. It's your boy Eddie Knight. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe.